Creed charges $435 for Aventus. Tom Ford charges $290 for Oud Wood. Maison Margiela charges $195 for Replica Beach Walk. And blind test after blind test, people cannot tell the difference between those bottles and what I'm about to show you. The gap between a $50 fragrance and a $500 fragrance has never been smaller. Modern perfumery gives affordable houses access to the exact same aroma molecules the niche brands are using. The same ISO-E Super, the same Ambroxan, the same Hedione. The entry fee for smelling genuinely expensive has been a lie. Today, 10 perfumes all under $50 that will make people stop you and ask what you're wearing. Fragrance number 1 is Armaf Club de Nuit, Intense Man, at around $25. And this is where the Creed illusion completely falls apart. Creed Aventus sits at $435 and carries a reputation built on smoky birch, pineapple, and a dry oak moss base that people describe as the ultimate power fragrance. Armaf studied that formula. They didn't guess. They reverse-engineered the DNA and produced something that sits in the same olfactive family so closely that enthusiasts in blind tests consistently misidentify which one they're wearing. What are you actually paying for with Aventus? At this level of execution, the honest answer is the embossed bottle and the name on the cap. Club de Nuit opens with black currant and pineapple, dries down through birch smoke, and settles into a clean musk base that lasts 8 hours easily on skin. That's not a dupe in the dismissive sense. That's a legitimate fragrance that earns its own reputation. Fragrance number 2 is Lattafa Asad at $18. And this one exposes the pricing psychology behind designer Oud. Oud-based fragrances from houses like Initio and Memo Paris regularly clear $300. The reasoning is always the same: rare ingredients, complex compositions, superior longevity. Lattafa is a Middle Eastern house, and Middle Eastern perfumers have been working with Oud for centuries. This isn't a fragrance culture they borrowed, it's one they invented. Asad opens with a bergamot and saffron combination that immediately signals luxury. The heart is dense, woody, and resinous in a way that feels genuinely opulent. The base holds for 10 to 12 hours on most skin types, which is performance that $250 designer releases cannot consistently match. Smart viewer tip. Lattafa tests incredibly well in office and evening settings because the projection is powerful without being aggressive. At $18, this is arguably the best value fragrance I've ever handled. Now I need to teach you something before we go further. There are 2 categories of budget fragrance: houses that are inspired by luxury scents and houses that have simply developed great compositions independently at accessible prices. The distinction matters because your expectations shift. An inspired fragrance is designed to remind you of something. An original composition at a budget price is just a great fragrance that happens to be affordable. Everything on this list falls into one of those 2 categories. Neither one is inferior. They're just different types of value. Keep that framework in mind. Fragrance number 3 is Rasasi Hawas at $22. This is a fresh aquatic fragrance that routinely outperforms Dior Sauvage in blind comparisons, and Dior Sauvage retails at $110. Smart viewer tip. Look at the longevity data from fragrance community reviews. Hawas consistently gets 8 to 10 hour reports on skin. Sauvage gets 6 to 8. You are paying 5 times more for shorter performance. What Hawas delivers is an opening of bergamot and mint that feels genuinely crisp, a heart of ambergris and woody notes that carries real complexity, and a base that doesn't disappear 2 hours into your workday. This is the fragrance I recommend first to anyone who says they can't afford to smell good. It proves the premise of this entire list in a single bottle. Fragrance number 4 is Maison Alhambra Delight at around $20. And this is a material story about gourmand perfumery. Niche gourmand fragrances from houses like Initio Rehab or Kilian's Love Don't Be Shy clear $250 easily. The justification is always about the quality of vanilla, the balance of the praline, the sophistication of the dry down. Maison Alhambra Delight uses praline, vanilla, and patchouli in a layered composition that opens sweet without reading cheap. Here's the thing about gourmand fragrances at budget price points. The common failure is an imbalance that makes the fragrance smell synthetic or cloying after an hour. Delight doesn't do that. The transition from the initial sweetness into a grounded woody base is smooth and deliberate. This is a fragrance that catches compliments. That's the only performance metric that actually matters. Fragrance number 5 is Zara Oriental at under $25. And Zara has built something most people completely overlook. Their fragrance section functions as a precision decoder ring for designer scents, and everything sits under $30. Oriental specifically works with caramel, vanilla, and musk in a combination that creates warmth and depth immediately on application. Most people assume Zara's fragrances are filler products, something you grab at checkout without thinking. That assumption is wrong, and it's costing people money. Blind tests run by the fragrance community on Reddit and YouTube consistently show Zara Oriental fooling noses that have handled $400 bottles. The bottle itself looks like it belongs on a high-end vanity. The presentation is clean, minimal, and deliberately upscale. At this price point, you can own 4 of these for the cost of one mid-tier designer release. Fragrance number 6 is Dossier Woody Sandalwood at $49. And this is where the ingredients argument against budget fragrance completely collapses. The knock on affordable fragrances has always been that they use inferior synthetics. Dossier is transparent about their formula. They publish their ingredient sourcing. And what they're working with is the same class of aroma chemicals used by the niche houses they're inspired by. Their woody sandalwood composition sits in the same olfactive territory as Le Labo Santal 33, which retails at $198. Sandalwood is naturally warm, creamy, and slightly smoky. Done right, it's one of the most universally sophisticated base notes in perfumery. Dossier gets it right. The projection is moderate, which is appropriate for sandalwood, and the longevity runs 6 to 8 hours consistently. This is the fragrance you wear to a first impression. Fragrance number 7 is Lattafa Khamrah at $22. A boozy gourmand fragrance that belongs in the same conversation as Kilian Angels Share, which costs $295. And I'm not being hyperbolic. Khamrah opens with rum, cognac, and cinnamon, in a combination that is immediately recognizable as premium gourmand. The heart introduces vanilla and oud in a balance that prevents the sweetness from becoming overwhelming. The base settles into a warm, ambery depth that holds for the better part of a day. Smart viewer tip. Layer this with an unscented moisturizer applied before spraying. The hydration in the skin gives the fragrance molecules something to bond to, and longevity jumps noticeably. This is a technique that applies across every fragrance on this list, but Khamrah benefits most dramatically from it. You're getting a cold weather evening fragrance with genuine presence for the price of a fast food lunch. Fragrance number 8 is Ajmal Evoke Silver at $30. And this is a fragrance story about fresh aromatic compositions that the designer world consistently overcharges for. Bleu de Chanel sits at $150. Acqua di Gio Profumo sits at $130. Both are in the fresh, woody, aromatic category. Evoke Silver works with bergamot, lavender, vetiver, and cedar in a structure that is clean, masculine, and genuinely sophisticated. The opening is bright and citrus-forward. The dry down moves into a woody vetiver base that reads, expensive without effort. This is a fragrance you can wear anywhere. Office, date, casual Saturday. That versatility at $30 is the value story. Most $150 designer fragrances in this category are delivering the same olfactive experience with better marketing and a heavier bottle. At $30, Evoke Silver removes all of that overhead and just gives you the fragrance. Fragrance number 9 is Reefs Escalate at under $35. This is where the projection argument against budget fragrances ends completely. Escalate opens with a bergamot and black pepper combination that has genuine sillage. The trail a fragrance leaves as you move through a room. Most fragrances at this price point are skin-close performers. You smell them up close, but they don't announce your arrival. Escalate announces your arrival. The heart moves into a leather and woody accord that reads, mature and deliberate. The base is musk and amber, warm and persistent. People in the fragrance community describe this as their most complimented fragrance regardless of price tier. That's the data point that matters, not what it costs. Not what the bottle looks like, whether people stop you and ask what you're wearing. Fragrance number 10 is Patchouli by Jeanne Arthes at around $25. And I want to end on this one because it teaches you something about how fragrance perception actually works. Patchouli has a reputation problem. People associate it with a particular era, a particular aesthetic. Expensive niche houses like Juliet has a gun, and Serge Lutens have spent years rehabilitating that reputation by pairing patchouli with cleaner, more modern accords. Jeanne Arthes did the same thing for $25. The composition here is patchouli softened with vanilla and white musk in a way that reads modern, warm, and genuinely refined. It doesn't smell like incense. It doesn't smell like a head shop. It smells like something a well-traveled person would choose intentionally. The longevity is outstanding, 8 hours minimum on skin. And the bottle, dark glass with simple typography, looks like it came from a Parisian niche house. That's the entire thesis of this list in a single $25 example. The industry has been charging you for perception. The fragrance inside the expensive bottle was never the whole story.